Hey Jim, it's a big party going on here, right?
That's right. We're having a big time here at Gibson.
It's so big. I mean, the room is so big. We have live performance. Everybody's playing the guitars here. It's fitting so good.
It's such a great vibe, and it's absolutely the biggest, most epic showing we ever had in our history.
So good to see us. Gibson's back, really.
We're back and we're strong.
Everybody's smiling.
It's a great time to be here.
Great feeling.
It is.
Yeah, the room,
it is.
Really, live music. Everybody's playing every guitar. No limitations.
Yeah, I mean, just the vibe here is just fantastic.
Yeah.
And we have over 450 guitars we're showing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a great event. And we have a strong showing, a great vibe, the biggest display we've ever had. It's a great
So
time.
good, is it?
It is. It's fantastic.
Wonderful. Okay,
Yeah.
so we are for NAMM 2020.
Yes.
So you're Jim DeCola, you're the master luthier
That's right.
for Gibson US.
I'm master luthier for Gibson USA and Custom, yes.
Custom. Okay, so what do you have new for NAMM?
We have the Les Paul Special Tribute. So this is a tribute to the Les Paul Special that we have in our original series, but it's at a more affordable price. So we have 4 different satin finishes that we're offering it in. Ebony satin, vintage cherry satin, a natural satin, and a worn white satin. They're all very striking. And then it's also available with either 2 humbucking pickups or 2 P90 pickups.
Yeah.
And then our classic 2-volume, 2-tone, and switchcraft toggle switch. We're using a compensated wraparound. Now, you know, the original Les Paul Special has the non-compensated wraparound to keep it historic. So for this model, we're using the compensated wraparound. Still has the vibe and the sound of the wraparound, but improved intonation from the compensation. And we also added a little dimple to it so it holds that string solid in that position. So it's a great value, and we're very excited about this model, the Les Paul Special Tribute.
Okay, so you have it in black, white, brown, all different colors here.
Yeah, all satin finishes, and the satin finish not only looks really cool, you know, it has that non-gloss satin vibe, but it feels really good on the neck. So it's a very fast feel.
Looks almost like ebony, the finish here.
Yeah, this is a new version of the ebony vintage satin, and I don't know if you can see it on camera, but you can kind of see the wood grain through it, so it actually looks kind of like a piece of ebony. You know, instead of being total jet black, it has some very dark brown streaks in there where the grain is coming through.
Yeah,
so it's a very striking
colors.
finish.
Yeah.
And the necks on these are also maple too. So maple neck, rosewood fingerboard, and the mahogany body. Vintage cherry, of course, you know, has that tone of, you know, the cherry finishes that we've done in the 60s where it kind of fades. The natural looks really nice because you can see the maple, and with the finish process, you know, it kind of antiques that maple to give it a nice antique tone on that. And then, of course, the worn white is more of a polar white version of the TV finish. So you can see the wood grain.
So it's TV white, is it?
Yeah, it's kind of like a TV
yeah, kind
white.
of, yeah.
Yeah, TV white, really. It's that same kind of process, but done in a satin finish.
So the thin finish doesn't sound better. Yeah.
It's a thin finish, you know, and
it makes the guitar sound better, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, it's more resonant. With thicker poly finishes that some other manufacturers use, even on a solid body, that will affect the resonance of the guitar.
Yeah.
So we're using nitrocellulose lacquer on everything we do, on high gloss and lacquer.
Yeah.
So especially on a satin lacquer. So even on a satin, it's a very, very thin finish. So yeah, it looks great. It sounds great.
So it's 3.5 time, is it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We're very excited. You know, we're kind of relaunching the ES model line. You know, we moved the manufacturing from Memphis back to Nashville, where moved away from in 2004. So we moved it back to Nashville. It's built in the same Gibson USA plant it was previously, and we started out with an ES 335 satin. and that has two of our T-type pickups, which are patterned after the T-top pickups, but we call them T-types because they're made to the same specifications in terms of the magnet wire and magnets and construction, but we didn't mold the T in the top of the bobbin, so we call it T-type instead of T-top. It has the blueprint spec of 5,000 turns per coil, so it's a moderate output PAF, and it perfectly complements the ES style of guitar. So starting in the range, we have the ES 335 Satin. So we have the Cherry, the Vintage Burst, and the Antique Natural. And then we go to the gloss finishes options. So we have the Vintage Sunburst and the Cherry and the Ebony. After that, then they step up and they go to the figured maple. So we have figured.
Nice one. Let's look at it.
Oh yeah. Wow. So figured maple on the entire body, and of course a mahogany neck. Excuse me, sir. And then we're using the vintage deluxe tuners on all of them, and then small block inlay on the fingerboard. And then from this,
let's put it back into light. It's just shining better here.
Then now we have the ES 345. So the 345 has the split parallelogram inlays, multiply binding, and available in the Vintage Sunburst and 60s Cherry as well. So it's a 345, but it's not to historic specs. We took off the Veritone switch, so we don't have the mid-range choke. We had a lot of people asking for the 345, but a lot of people didn't really use those electronic features, so we wired it up standard, so it will have the vintage taper pots like all the rest of our guitars, 500K all around, standard electronics, and again, T-type pickups. So it's mainly a step up from the 335 in terms of the aesthetics with the multiply binding and the split parallelogram inlays. Next we have the ES 339. So the 339, that I'm showing you here is in transparent ebony. So it has the downsized 335 body. And in the case of this guitar, we felt it sounded better with 57 classic pickups. And a lot of players using this guitar, almost consider it a hybrid between, the ES style and a Les Paul, because of its physical size.
Yeah.
So the 57 classic humbucking pickups perfectly complement that. And along with that change, now we go to the Grover kidney tuners. So it's just a great guitar. And for those players who are just looking for a downsized ES model, this is a great guitar.
We need to put it back to light because
that's right.
It's pretty dark here.
And then the 339 is also available in the figured maple as well, and then the small block inlays.
Very nice figuring here.
Yes. And it's available in not only the 60s Cherry, but also in a Blueberry Burst. Yeah. From there, we have the 70s Explorer and Flying V. We had a lot of our fans asking for us to bring back the V and Explorer as we've done, or how we did it in the late 70s. And a lot of the players at that time were using them, in a hard rock or heavy metal style of music. So we brought it back in the classic white as we made them then. The V, even has the mounting rings. During that era, they would use the full-face pick guard and mount the pickups with mounting rings, which actually does affect the sound because the pickups are then parallel to the strings. So we're building it with those same features. They feature a rosewood fingerboard and white-bound rosewood fingerboard. So we have white binding on there. The pickups are new. A lot of those players at the time, using it for hard rock and heavy metal, were putting aftermarket pickups in it because, they needed a little bit higher output. At the time, Gibson was using... Thank you. Yeah. At the time, Gibson were using 300K volume pots, and using 300K compared to 500K is like turning your volume down.
Yeah.
So we went back to 500K pots, but we also made a specific set of pickups new for this model. So they're 70s tribute humbuckers. They're a finer gauge of wire and a higher wind Alnico 5 magnets. So they're voiced to have a very tight, focused sound that will excel in high gain and distortion settings. So they're not going to get they're not going to get tubby or floppy sounding. You know, they're a very tight, focused, humbucking sound. Great for metal and hard rock. Still very articulate under those conditions.
So all we have are iconic idols, alright? Yeah, pretty much.
Here we have the Slash model, right?
Yeah.
The Slash signature model, 50s style Les Paul. We've done many limited runs for Slash over the years, and they've always sold out. So this year, you know, because of all the excitement with the new Gibson, we decided to offer his model into our core collection. So right now we're looking at the November Burst. It comes in 4 different sunburst finishes. November Burst, Appetite Burst, Vermilion Burst, and Anaconda Burst. They have Gibson's new Slash Bucker pickups. They have Alnico 2 magnets. They're our highest output match set of burst bucker pickups. Yeah. So they have that burst bucker offset to the coils. Slash tested them extensively this past year touring, and he's very pleased with them. The neck is the full 50s profile that Slash likes. Rosewood fingerboard, non-weight relief mahogany body, and then Slash's signature on the truss rod cover, and then his distinctive logo on the back of the headstock.
Let's have a look on the different color here.
Yes, that's Vermilion Burst. So the Vermilion Burst is a color that he's played on several models in the past, and you'll notice we coordinate the plastics depending on the color. He prefers the black knobs and pickup trim rings and so forth, plastic parts, to be black with the Vermilion and the Anaconda. On the November Burst, he preferred the cream trim and aged gold top hat knobs. And then on the Appetite Burst, which is a version of Unburst, he preferred the zebra coils. So here are the same pickups, but they have the zebra coils and then cream trim and gold reflector knobs. Yeah. So we color coordinate it per color to his specifications.
Okay.
But they'll all sound the same and feel the same and play the same.
Yeah. So we are right in front of the stage of the party here, aren't we?
That's right.
So
It's very exciting.
Loud.
Very loud, very exciting.
But we get it.
We did. We got it. And in addition to the Slash guitars, we also have 2 of Slash's signature J45.
Let's see that one. Wow.
So this was designed to Slash's specifications, and one of the most distinctive features, you know, in addition to a signature Vermilion Burst, and we're also offering it in his November Burst as well. So 2 of his signature colors, of course, his signature on the truss rod cover. And then another unique feature is he requested a flatter fingerboard on the acoustic. For his particular playing style, the 16-inch fingerboard radius, which is flatter than our normal 12, worked out better for him. So that's another unique feature. But it's a classic J45 done up to his specifications.